The Whisper Elk. A story about a haunted Appalachian town where a trail of bones, cryptic whispers, and vanishing locals lead to a chilling creature. I don't usually travel to West Virginia without a good reason, but when a local paper out of a remote town called Black Hollow published an article titled "Hunter Found Mute After Encounter in the Woods," I paid attention. It wasn't the headline that got me, it was the photograph. A man sitting on the edge of a cot in a clinic room, wrapped in a blanket, eyes wide and haunted, mouth open as if still trying to scream. The caption read, "Earl McTavish, a lifelong resident and hunter, has yet to speak since being discovered in the eastern woodline. Authorities report no signs of trauma." It didn't take much to get in touch with a journalist, a woman named Bonnie, who wrote obituaries, local fairs, and bear sightings for the Hollow County Bugle. When I asked about Earl, she lowered her voice like someone might be listening, even over the phone. "People say he saw the Whisper Elk," she said. "You're not from around here, so you probably haven't heard of it. But around Black Hollow, folks have been telling stories about that thing for generations." I packed my bags the next day. Black Hollow sits in a fold of the Appalachian Mountains, where pine forests grow thick and cell reception is a fantasy. The town had one gas station, one diner, and a single main road that curved like a spine through its center. As I pulled into town, mist hung low over the treetops, the kind that makes the world seem quieter than it should be. I checked into a tiny motel where the clerk offered me a room key and a slice of blueberry pie in the same breath. The wallpaper was peeling, the bed creaked like a haunted ship. Perfect. The next morning, I met Bonnie at the diner. She was in her early 50s, wore a denim jacket with a wild turkey pin, and looked like she took no nonsense. "You're not the first person to come nosing around about the Whisper Elk," she said over coffee. "Some bloggers came through a few years back, ghost hunter types. One of them went hiking and never came back." "What do people say it is?" "That's the thing. No one agrees. Some say it's a spirit, some say it's a cursed animal, and the real backwoods folks, like Earl, think it's a forest god. But the one thing everyone agrees on is the voice. It doesn't make a sound with its mouth. It speaks in your head, quiet like it knows things." She tapped her temple. "Real deep things." I asked if I could talk to Earl. "No chance," she said. "His family won't let anyone near him. He won't eat, barely drinks, just sits and stares out the window like he's waiting for something." Instead, I started with locals. Black Hollow only had a few hundred residents, and once word got out that a stranger was asking about the Whisper Elk, people began to find reasons not to talk to me. But not everyone. A few offered stories, half in warning, half in confession. I found Mabel behind the counter of the Black Hollow post office, where the scent of old envelopes and worn linoleum lingered like ghosts. She was in her early 60s, short and wiry, with curly gray hair that formed a kind of frizz halo around her head. When I asked about the Whisper Elk, she didn't flinch or smile. She just looked at me like I was a kid asking about the boogeyman. "You want to know if it's real?" she said, pausing as she slid mail into a pigeonhole. "It is. And it doesn't like to be talked about. You get that, right?" I nodded. She took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "This was 5 years ago now, middle of October. I keep a little vegetable garden beside my house. Got tomatoes, squash, and a few herbs. It's nothing special, but I take pride in it. One morning, I go out and there's deer tracks in the dirt. No big deal, we get deer around here all the time. But these weren't normal. The tracks started at the edge of my fence, walked a few yards into the garden, and then just stopped. No turn, no jump, no doubling back. Just ended. Like the deer disappeared into thin air." She looked up at me, her voice low now. I asked my neighbor, a hunter, to come take a look. He just turned pale and told me to forget about it. Said it wasn't a deer, said it was watching, and that I should stay inside after dark for a while. I didn't sleep much that week. Mabel shook her head and gave a bitter little laugh. "I've lived here my whole life. I know the difference between weird and dangerous." "The Whisper Elk?" "It's both." I met Darren at a gas station just outside the tree line. He was a logger, big guy, maybe in his 40s, with arms like tree trunks and a voice like gravel. He leaned against his muddy pickup, arms crossed, a toothpick dancing between his lips as I asked him what he knew about the Whisper Elk. "My granddad used to talk about it," he said. "He worked these woods back in the 50s. Said the forest had a spot you just didn't go into. Called it the Hollow inside the Hollow. Creepy name, huh? He said if you ever saw birch trees growing in a circle, you turned around. Fast. I asked if he'd ever seen anything himself. He nodded, eyes scanning the treetops like something might be lurking even now. 2 years ago, I was out on the ridge with my crew. We were scouting timber up near Devil's Spur. It was foggy, and the air had that weird dead quiet, you know? No birds, no bugs, just silence. Then we found something. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. Pile of bones, small ones, like raccoons or possums, stacked neatly into a little pyramid, clean as museum pieces. No blood, no fur, just bone, Darren said, and right next to it, tracks. Huge ones, like elk tracks, but longer, stretched out. Wrong. He pocketed the phone. We got out of there. A couple of the guys got sick right after. Nasty fevers, nightmares. One of them still refuses to go back up there. Says he dreams of antlers growing out of his own head. Darren looked at me then, dead serious. Whatever that thing is, it ain't natural, ain't animal. And it remembers people. Granddad said it marked folks it didn't like. Said they started hearing their names when no one was around. Mr. Weber ran the town's only pawn shop. A dim little space cluttered with dusty guitars, out-of-date electronics, and enough old knives to start a war. He was a thin man with sharp features and slow movements, like a lizard sunning itself behind the counter. He didn't look surprised when I asked about the whisper elk. Saw it once, he said. Long time ago, thought I imagined it, but I didn't. He motioned for me to follow him to the back, into a small office stacked with receipts, locked cabinets, and a coffee pot that looked like it hadn't been washed since the Clinton administration. He poured us both cups. This was, maybe 15 years ago. I was out hunting up in the North Ridge, near Miller's Hollow, real thick woods. I was tracking a buck, had prints and everything. I come around this bend, and the air just goes wrong, heavy, like a storm coming in, but with no wind. The silence hits you first, like the forest got tired of breathing. He paused, staring into his coffee. Then I saw it. Not all of it, just part. Something tall, maybe 10, 12 feet, moving between the trees like it wasn't touching the ground. The antlers were what did it. They looked like twisted branches covered in frost, even though it was spring. They bent, moved, like they were listening. He cleared his throat. And then I heard it, not out loud, in here. He tapped his temple. A voice that wasn't a voice. Said my name. Just my name. Calm. Slow. Like it had all the time in the world. He looked up at me then. I didn't run. Don't know why. Maybe I couldn't. But it moved past, never looked at me again. Gone like fog. But I tell you, Mr. Holloway, I felt less after. Like it took something I didn't even know I had. He stood, slowly. I keep a salt ring around my bedroom now. Might sound foolish, but I don't want it coming back. Bonnie gave me the name of a retired forest ranger, Tom Pickens, who used to work in the Black Hollow Wildlife Reserve, a patch of protected forest that was technically closed to the public now. It took me an hour to find his cabin, nestled in a hollow of moss and lichen and whispering pine. He met me on the porch with a rifle across his lap. You're the one asking about the whisper elk? I am. You shouldn't. Tom was in his 70s, but sharp as broken glass. He eventually agreed to talk after I promised not to quote him or reveal his location. It's not a beast, he said. You know how some animals act like they're listening to you? This thing doesn't act. It listens. It understands. He took a sip from a tin mug. We first started getting reports in the 70s. Hikers hearing their own names in the trees. One girl said she followed a trail of bones through the woods, picked clean and stacked like cairns. I went looking. Found nothing. But I never liked being out there alone again. I asked if he'd seen it. Not all of it, he said. But I saw the antlers. He paused, long enough I thought he might stop. They were like branches, birch white, kept moving even when the air was still. And underneath, the shadows didn't fall right, like there was a hole in the world where it stood. That night, I returned to my motel room and listened to the recordings I'd made. I played Bonnie's voice, Mabel's, Tom's. I sketched out a rough timeline, a map, a pattern. And then my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I picked up. No one spoke on the other end. But I heard breathing, slow, steady, like something with lungs too big for a human. Silas, it said, not aloud, inside my skull, a velvet whisper scraping along the walls of my mind. I hung up, didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Bonnie texted me. Earl had passed away, just stopped breathing sometime in the night. The doctors didn't know why. She asked if I wanted to attend the wake. I said yes. It was a small affair. Black Hollow doesn't put on big shows for its dead. His daughter flew in from New York. She didn't cry, just looked exhausted, like someone who'd expected this ending a long time ago. Afterwards, I stood outside the funeral home, watching mist gather on the grass. That's when the little boy approached me. "You're the one asking about the elk," he said. I nodded. He looked maybe 10, with a mop of dark curls and a serious expression far too old for his face. "It lives out past the burn line," he said, "where the old fire stopped." "How do you know?" It told me. I don't believe in involving kids in these things, but he was already gone before I could say another word. And damn it if I didn't follow his directions. The burn line was an old scar from a wildfire 20 years ago. The forest beyond was darker, newer, full of skeletal trees and silence. I parked the car and walked. At first, nothing. Just trees and wind and the sound of my own heartbeat. Then the air changed. Thickened, like walking into syrup. And then I heard it. Whispers, not words. Not yet. Just the sound of meaning being pulled together. The world bent. Just a little. I turned a corner in the trail, and it stood there. Tall as a moose, but wrong. Too narrow. Too still. Its antlers stretched like trees, bending in a wind I couldn't feel. Its eyes weren't eyes, just holes full of stars. It didn't move, but I felt it inside me. Silas. I couldn't run. Couldn't breathe. "Do you carry guilt?" It wasn't a question. It was an autopsy. "Would you like to forget?" And for one terrible moment, I did. I wanted to let it in, to let go, to be hollow. I stumbled backwards, shook my head. "No," I whispered. The creature tilted its head, once, then vanished, not walked away, vanished. I don't remember walking back to the car. I remember sitting in the driver's seat, my hands shaking, my phone buzzing. Bonnie texting, "You okay?" I wasn't. Not then, maybe not now. I left Black Hollow the next morning. No goodbyes, no last interviews. I didn't need more stories. I had enough. Back in my apartment, I listened to the recordings again. Most were normal. But the one from my motel, the night I got that call, when I played it back, I heard something else. A whisper, almost under the static. "We remember." I've covered a lot of strange things in my time. Haunted highways, echoing caves, towns with reflections that lie. But Black Hollow? That place isn't haunted. It is the haunting. And if you ever go hiking in the Appalachian woods and hear your name on the wind, don't answer. Because something ancient is listening, and it never forgets. If this sort of thing keeps you up at night, you might want to subscribe. There's always more buried in the archives. And if there's a story you're looking for, drop it in the comments. Odds are, I've already got a file with your name on it, just haven't dusted it off yet.